I was with my darling niece yesterday, and I've been telling my family that I've been feeling a lot better, doing a lot better the last couple of months. And she asked, "What do you think is helping? What's going on?" And I said, "I think it's accumulating."
When you're dealing with conditions like ME/CFS or long COVID, I know it can feel a bit like you're walking in circles, like you're making progress, but you're never quite arriving where you're trying to go. And if that sounds familiar, then this conversation is for you. I'm Raelan, and if you're tuning in for the first time, this space is built on one belief: recovery is possible, and no one should have to do it alone. Here we explore what helps and what doesn't help with open minds and big hearts so you can feel supported every step of the way. So many of you have asked for interviews with people who are making progress, but are still a bit in the thick of it, that there are only so many marathon runners that you can hear about, and you occasionally need something a bit more relatable. Today, I am thrilled to introduce Carolynn Woolstone, joining us from Vancouver, Canada. She became unwell with ME/CFS after shingles in 2018. And while she's not all the way through, she's come such a long way. And in this conversation, Carolynn is going to share not just the physical steps that have helped her, but also how she's navigated the emotional and the spiritual layers of this condition and how it's really transformed her life. So, if you're in the middle of your own journey, if you're tired of feeling like your progress only counts when you're fully done, or if you just want to feel less alone and a little more seen, this one's for you. So, let's dive in. Carolyn, so incredible to have you here. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Raylan. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I finally felt like I was in a place to have something really to share with people. So, yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were just saying a little bit before we started recording. It's amazing because you and I have been chatting back and forth a bit on Instagram for, I scrolled back about 4 years now,
About
which
4
is
years.
so
I think
amazing.
I found you right at the beginning of you know, your entrance into this field, and when you were doing your first
Mm.
videos, and you were the first, other than like the programs per se that are out
Yeah.
there, you were the first person that I found, and I just found you so warm, so thoughtful in the way you would do everything, and so many great interviews and inspiration. More than anything, the inspiration that you brought and you still bring.
Well, you've been wonderful as well, and you've been there since the beginning when I was doing videos and it was a one-person show and I had no equipment and just no idea what I was doing. And
Oh,
I mean, I am still fumbling my way a bit, learning as I go, but I was just want to say I remember you and you've stood out
oh, thank
because you
you.
were always so supportive when I would post things online and you would send me nice comments. And if I put something in the stories, I always got you give me the little heart tap. And it just, when you're on the
Oh,
other end, it might not seem like it means much, but I can tell you on my end, I really notice the people that are supportive and show me a lot of kindness along
oh,
the way. So thank you.
yeah, that means
Thank
a
you.
lot. I think that's one thing of my nature, which has the positive side and can
Right.
have the negative side, is that I am a supportive person. I mean,
Yeah.
was in education for years and counseling, and that's kind of just my nature. So I'm glad to hear that it meant something to you.
Yeah, it absolutely did, but I can see how that giver in you could also have a flip side
Definitely.
for the self-care. So,
Yeah.
you've had a journey for quite a few years with this, so tell us
hmm
about that. How did this start?
Well, it started after a bout with the shingles, or with shingles. I don't know which it is, but anyways, about 7.5 years ago. So it was at the end of January 2018. I live in Vancouver, Canada, and our Januaries are usually pretty nasty, lots of rain and cold. And um, so I came down with a sudden bout of the shingles. And it was like an instant thing, because I know some people talk about, these things start to show up, but it was night and day. It
Mhm.
was a complete shock to my system. But leading up to that, as I look back in hindsight, I think, I'd had a lot of years where I was dealing with chronic stress. I also, as a young child, I would say I was quite anxious, didn't want to do the wrong thing, all the things people talk about. Um, for example, I was thinking about this the other day, being like a 7-year old, and I was in brownies. It's kind of like like just under Girl Guides.
Hmm.
And our leader gave us a name, like a special nickname, and I forgot mine. And I still remember this vividly, crying in my bed, just sobbing that I forgot and I had to go, and then I would be ashamed and embarrassed and I did the wrong thing. My mom even had to track down this leader on the phone. So I only bring up this story to show that, I've had this nature for a long time. So over the years, um, through my 20s, things were up and down. There was anxiety, some depression, but, I was living life pretty well. And then I got married and had a couple of children. That's the best thing I ever did. But of course, that comes with stress, right? A lot of people relying on me. And then my marriage was struggling. So that was hard in dealing with all of that. And I think I was on like adrenaline for years. And then I became a teacher. So I love the teenagers. Being in the classroom was really tough on me because of my nervous system. So I would come home at the end of the day sometimes, and my whole body would be buzzing like an
Wow.
adrenaline surge just from the experience of being in the classroom, having all those the different needs, the different vibrations, if you want to say, coming from the students. And so I decided at a certain point to go into counseling. So, and my marriage had fallen apart. And so there was a separation, which was stressful and all of that. So I decided to go into counseling. So I was working full time a couple of years before I came down with shingles, working full time, doing my master's degree so I could move out of the classroom and into a counseling role, still raising my children, primarily on my own. And, but was thriving in some ways. I was really enjoying it. I was really happy. It wasn't like I was trudging through. I felt like I was doing what I was meant to do. Um, but then I got a counseling job. So that was in September of 2017. And, when you do a practicum and things, or you're just starting out, they never give you the full deal. So you never really experience what you will experience on the job. So they're going to shelter you in a
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
So I was in there, bam, and there was so much going on. And I was really trying to figure out my role as a school counselor, like how much am I responsible for these youth? Where does that line stop? So I was taking a lot of it on. So I think that was part of it too. Even though I was really happy, it was a lot to
Yeah.
take on. So then the shingles hit, and that was it, just night and day. I've never been the
Oh.
same since. And it's really interesting that I knew, and I'd only told a couple of people, but I said to those two people, I'm never going to be the same again. I knew something really, really had shifted. And it's the truth. Like, even hopefully one day I'm fully back to fully functioning, I will never be the same again after this experience.
Yeah.
So I think I meant it on partly on the physical level, but I knew deep down that this was a really seismic event.
Right. I call them the before and after events.
Yes.
You it's like it's a punctuated point in your life and everything was
Hmm.
different before and everything will be different after. And some of that probably bad, but then a lot of that very can be very good as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what did it look like? You got the shingles, it shut you down. Were doctors telling you, just learn to live with this or what how did it go from there?
Well, of course, I went to my GP first and I had all these wild symptoms. Now, some of it, the other thing that was going on is I was going through real perimenopause. Like, I was 51 when this started. So there was a lot going on in my system, and that could have made me vulnerable too, right? So my doctor was talking about at first, oh, this will pass. It's Shingles, sometimes you can have reactions. But I knew she's talking to me, and I'm like, I already knew what it was. I'd done enough looking to know, no, I have chronic fatigue. This is what it
Mm.
is. So eventually it became post viral fatigue, it was what she was saying. And then she kept saying, no, you're going to be fine. I've walked many people through this. Um, she was very kind, but again, she didn't have much to offer, right? I must say, my GP has been fabulous in terms of advocacy, in terms of supporting me with work, not working or whatever I
Mm.
needed, paperwork, like great in that way. But I just wasn't getting much from her, really.
Yeah. Which is something, though. I remember having a
Yes.
doctor that did that for me as well and just believed me and filled out the paperwork and said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm here for you. It doesn't fix everything, but it definitely makes a world of difference.
Oh, yeah. No, it really helped. Like at the time, it was a little frustrating, but it was like part of me went, it's
Yeah.
okay because I know what's going on. Not that I know better than the doctors, but I'm in my body
Yeah.
and I have some intuition about what is happening here.
Yeah. And I think that's an amazing thing that a lot of us get from these journeys. And it sounds like you got there
Hmm.
very quickly. Many of us, it takes a while. We sit back in that passive role of let's go to the experts and they're going to, recovery is going to be something done to me. I don't have much of a role in this. What do I know? I didn't go to medical school. And as you go through these sorts of conditions, you realize virtually all of the power is within you. It's just understanding what's going on and what you need to do to move through it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying by any stretch that I was like, "Oh, this is what's going on with me. Great. Yay, this is fine. I'll figure this out." I was a mess,
Yeah.
like all of us, especially in the
Good
beginning, just
good thing to point out.
terrified,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, scared, clueless, really. Yeah, so it wasn't like I was sitting there, "Oh, great, I got this." It wasn't that at all. No.
Yeah. 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 Another good thing to point out. Like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, this is going to be a transformative experience and I'm going to be so much better for it. Bring on the healing.
I mean, it was really stressful because I did
Mm,
try and work a little bit, and my doctor wanted me to work. I think she felt socially, or totally isolating myself. I mean, I understand where she was coming from, but she wasn't really listening to what I was trying to say. I think she thought it was more anxiety than anything, right? Because she did mention that a few times. So the stressors in the beginning of not being able to work, I'm
yeah.
being in the education system, I'm lucky, like I had sick days for the rest of the school year.
Mhm.
And then I tried to go back, and that was just a complete nightmare. And I was very part time. And I did have, like, we do have benefits through our union. So I was able
Mm,
to access those. But then at a certain point, when I did go off, I was working very little. They said there was a new level of adjudication about benefits, and there was a 2 month period where I was turned down, and a 2 month period where, as a single parent, having a mortgage and everything, I didn't have any income. I did not
yeah.
know if I was going to have any income.
Yeah. It's a great thing. I went through something similar, but not as a parent, but I was fortunate that I was part of a union. So I got to go on short
Hmm.
term disability leave and I got, I think, 60% of my salary, which is an incredible, it's still an adjustment, but they would cut it off without notice. I constantly had to jump through hoops to prove that I was still eligible. I had to go to so many doctors. They kept coming up with new specialists. I had to take an IQ test for my
Oh
thing to
my
keep going.
goodness.
Like, how does this?
What?
I know. At one point, I finally, fortunately, I moved back in with my dad, so I was okay. But I finally just said I have to let go of this. It was so stressful. Keeping trying to prove my
It
disability.
was so stressful, and
Yeah.
luckily in the end I was approved. But I remember when I got the call from the woman to say I wasn't approved, I'd just come home from my short work shift. I was just working like 2 afternoons a week. It was ridiculous, really. Like, what am I going to do of
Yeah.
use to help anybody? But um and I'd been stuck in a traffic jam for an hour, so that wasn't fun. I was exhausted. And she's like, well, we see that if you're able to do your daily things, like you can feed yourself, um, those very basic things, then you should be able to work full time. That's what they say. And you're like,
Yeah.
what? If I
Yeah.
don't feed myself, no one else is going to. So it was really, really, really stressful.
And there should be an expectation of a quality of life because too many people are in that place where they're somewhat functional and they can
Yes.
get to work and it's really hard and every day's a struggle. And then they get home and they collapse and that's all they've got. And then they rest as much as they can and they get up and they do it again. So they're physically getting themselves there, but
Oh,
ha-
and that there was about a 6-month period right before I went off full time where all they could find me was a full day somewhere. So I was working 20% and it was one full day.
yeah,
I was just felt so terrible the whole day and it was awful. So it was a huge relief. I think it was only about 3 years ago where I actually stopped working for good, for now, anyways. Because no, even no matter how far I've come, I'm still not ready for work. I don't think they understand what it means. Like until you've been through something like this
yeah,
and you really understand what it means to put in a full day's work and do all your other life things. I don't know if anyone can really understand what it's like, except for us
yeah.
who have experienced it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you did make quite a lot of progress though. So what sorts of things did you try? Did you go
Sure.
through a round of things that didn't work or did you
Yeah.
immediately quite quickly get onto some things that were helping?
Well, the first thing I did was I found you and Liz Carlson,
Mm,
who I love. I think she's just a lovely person as well as
she
everything that she
is.
does.
Yeah.
Um, so I started watching some videos and then, or maybe I did the ANS Rewire before. Anyways, it's all a
Mm,
blur, but I did do the ANS Rewire. I found it really educational, um, very helpful in many ways. I was doing the brain retraining, trying to do it perfectly, which of course I was very anxious about it. So I
yeah.
don't know how well that worked at that point.
Hmm.
I don't know with the mindset I had if I was really ready for that type of thing. Because it's quite like the way that Dan Neufer, I think that's how you say his name.
It is. I've been saying it wrong for 5 years.
Okay.
People keep telling me. I finally asked him at one point on his like
Yeah.
eighth interview. I said, "Am I saying your name wrong?" And he's like, "Why didn't you
He's
tell me?"
used to it probably.
Yeah, probably.
Um, no, I lost my train of thought.
That's my fault.
Oh yeah, the way he sets up the rewiring process, the brain
Mm,
retraining is excellent. I don't think it's anything about him. I think it was more about me.
mm.
Um, at that point, just too
Yeah.
anxious. And I did the Optimum Health Clinic. I went there,
Okay.
which is Alex Howard. I think you've
Ah,
interviewed
yes.
him, right?
I did, yeah. A
Yeah.
couple years ago, I can link it if people wanna check it out.
And it was similar, like, so the knowledge was building, some of the tools and skills were coming. Even if the brain retraining wasn't totally working, I think it was
Mhm.
still working, but just not, it wasn't like some people say 3 months and it
Right.
worked. It wasn't like that for me. I enjoyed having the one-on-one coaching with his program. I spent a lot of money. I don't regret it, but
Yeah.
some of these things cost a lot of money. I did, and then the rest of the thing I kind of did on my own. The best thing I did was find a counselor that really I felt attuned with. Um, and for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, and again, I meant to say in the very beginning that anything I share today is just my experience. So I don't want anyone out there listening to think that, oh, that "Oh, I don't like that or that doesn't speak to me, that they feel like they have to go do something that I
Right.
said worked for me. That was important for me to tell myself. That's why I'm saying it
Mhm.
out loud. Being the one who was like, oh, I have to do this, have to do this.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so this counselor was quite spiritual. I still see her. She was coming from a Buddhist perspective, and that really, really resonated with me. I think it just is sort of my natural inclination of the way that I want to live, the way that I want to perceive the world, but I'd never really formally just started to build those skills and learn about it. So I think just learning about suffering, right? Like the Buddhists say, like you've got your suffering, that's your first arrow, and then the second arrow is when you suffer about the suffering, for lack
Mhm.
of a better way to put it. So I really worked on that, and that really resonated with me. Then the what we resist persists. That took a long, long time to come into my system and me to really take that on. Because at the beginning, I was like, I just couldn't gel with it.
Yeah.
Um, what else? I did a lot of things on my own, just researching not necessarily about CFS, but researching about just healing in general. Some podcasts. I can't remember exactly which ones they were. Yeah, so those were the main things that I did.
And from all of those things, what pieces did you pull from it that helps you start to feel better?
Yeah. Oh, wait, I forgot one important piece, and then I'll answer that question. Because part of Dan Neufer's program is meditation.
Hmm.
And so I did his meditations for a long time, and I started to really enjoy that. And that's something that I've continued on. And that's also part of the spiritual lens, but it doesn't have to be spiritual either. Like I feel like mine is more the mindfulness. So I still do, and I've done pretty regularly about 30 minutes every day in the mornings. Some days I don't, and that's okay too. I don't try not to put pressure on myself. Sometimes I do record it. I really like Tara Brock. She has a podcast where she has a lot of different guided meditations, and I just love them. Um, she does a lot of body scanning, relaxing. So sometimes that really hits what I need as opposed to just dealing with the monkey mind.
Yeah.
Yoga Nidra, I think it's pronounced, has been helpful for me too. I really enjoy that. So sometimes in the afternoon, I would do that, or I'd have a nap, depending on my mood or what I felt like. So those were also some really important things. What worked? This is the way I'm looking at it now, and it's taken me a while because actually I was with my darling niece yesterday, and I've been telling my family that I've been feeling a lot better, doing a lot better the last couple of months, and she asked, "What do you think is helping? What's going on?" And I said, "I think it's a cumulative effect. I
Yeah.
do. And I think it's everything I've done, even, the things that I thought didn't work. So the brain retraining, I think it just started to become just a natural part of my thinking, right? Um, the meditation has really helped with that. Just calming all the tools like I also do vocal toning, right, which is good for the vagus nerve. All of these little things that I've learned along the way that I'm sure everybody who's listening or watching um, has tried. I think they all started to come together into this like the perfect storm that got me there.
Mm.
And now I feel like there's the perfect, let's say, Hawaiian beach, not a storm.
Whatever the opposite of a storm is. Yeah.
Exactly. That's helping me now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer
Yeah.
your question?
I think so, yeah, and it does sound like, most people I interview, they were like most people, it wasn't this one specific magic thing, it was little things they pulled from different pieces, different places, and this is what we continually say, it's those small things that you do every day
Mhm.
that build up over time, slowly pull you out, and I think that's why it can feel sometimes like you're not making a lot of progress, because on any given day,
Yes.
there aren't dramatic differences for most people. Some people have those dramatic, recoveries, but most people don't. For most people,
Mhm.
a longer process. But yeah, like I always say, zoom out and look at your trajectory, and if you're going the right direction, then keep going, keep doing what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And there were times I felt like I wasn't going in the right direction,
Yeah.
for sure. So again, don't get me wrong here. This is not being this, kind of linear storm to the beach by any stretch. And,
Yeah.
who knows, 2 months from now, I might be back in the not the storm, hopefully again, but
Yeah.
a little bit of rough weather. But I'm prepared for it mentally.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think, is now when those times come, of course I have the thoughts. I'm aware of them, but I don't let them overtake me.
Mm.
I just kind of go with the flow a little bit more and say, all right, this is just a day where I need some extra rest, and I'm just gonna do what I need to do and trust my instincts and know I have more confidence now that it won't last as long as it used to.
Right.
So a lot of it is confidence. I think I've built up confidence over the years in my body, in my mind, in my soul, all of those important, the main parts of us. And yeah, one thing I was going to say, so dealing with the emotional side, um, I know journaling is really great, and I don't like journaling. I've tried and I have done it. It just doesn't feel authentic to me,
Mm.
which is unfortunate because I think it probably would have helped, but I couldn't stick to it regularly. But one thing that does come naturally to me is writing poetry. Now, I haven't written a poem every week, but when something comes up for me, I will write a poem. Or if a poem, they usually just come to me and they're not anything fancy. There's not Walt Whitman here or anybody, but I really found that to be helpful. Is it okay if I read a short one?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I wrote this one, I think this was last year, and I was feeling a lot of grief. I was feeling like uh, sad, quite devastated at the time about missing out on important things. And these are not things like going on a big trip somewhere or going to some party. This was like being with my family, being with my loved
Mm.
ones, going, out to maybe see a short little concert, these ones that are happen in the summer with some friends, little things like that. So I this poem just came to me. So I'll read it. So it's called Grief. It sneaks in, it creeps in, it flows in, pit in my stomach, lump in my throat, tears welling in my eyes, aching in my heart. Doing what's best for my body leaves my spirit longing for more connection, freedom, and unbridled joy for me. I'm getting a bit emotional. Doing what's best for my body leaves my loved ones' spirits longing for more time, laughter, and adventure with me. My body needs me now. I can't let it down. It needs me to put it first, enveloping it with healing love, welcoming and holding the grief when it comes, all the while embracing the tender moments of connection and love with my treasured people and the world around me.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah, that's the kind of thing I would do, and it would help process the emotions.
Mm.
And I would share it with my loved ones, and they would talk about their grief. Because one thing I didn't mention is, with the impact of all of this, it really impacted my loved ones, the people around me, my children. It
Yeah.
was very hard on them. My daughter was away at university, but suddenly I wasn't popping over to see her or quite as available, you know. And then for my son who's living with me, they really, really felt it. They were very supportive, but in the beginning, especially, it was really hard to understand. And my immediate family, my mom and my sister, and everybody was like, "Oh, you've changed," and they understood. It wasn't any type of judgment, but it was a shifting,
Yeah.
and there was a part of me that felt some guilt about that,
Yeah.
right? Which I think must be pretty common.
Yes, I think it's pretty hard to get through this without that, going through that. But how has this, I know you've mentioned a little bit about this, but there's a lot of good that's come from this. So how has this transformed you for the better? How are you a different person now than you were before this
Yeah,
started?
I think I'm healthier mentally because, as I mentioned, I'd had some years of anxiety, the people pleasing, the boundaries, all of that type of thing, perfectionism. So I'm much healthier mentally. This is something I have to work at all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things coming onto this video was, oh, I'm nervous. I'm not going to know what to say and I'm not going to get it all out perfectly. But I just said to myself, what is meant to come out will come out in the way it's meant to come out.
Yeah.
And then, so I was able to do that as opposed to working myself into a frenzy or something.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm uh, less, I was never really a judgmental person, but I guess more understanding of the things people are going through. Like I remember there was someone I worked with just briefly because this was at the very beginning of when I started my new job and got sick 6 months later. But he was dealing with MS. And of course, I wanted to be supportive and I was supportive and understanding, but I didn't really get why, he would miss more days of work or calling in sick more often.
Yeah.
I didn't really get it, and I feel bad about that now, but, I can give myself some grace because I don't know if you can until you're in that situation, really. So I think it's made me a more generous person that way. Um, I think in some ways I'm a better parent. It worked out actually, especially because I'm not working right now. I have time. I might not be able to run around with them and do all the things, but I think I'm more present. I think I'm generally more present when I'm with people, but I'm able to be there for my children more. Um, I'm not as worked up and, in that frenzy of like, oh, we've got this, I'm so busy. Um, I hope they'd say the same thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But and I think it's made our relationship stronger in some ways between the three of us because they're young adults and they're going through their own things and I'm trying to be supportive of them and then vice versa as they're adults now and they're able to sort of see me as not only their mother but a full
Yeah.
person with challenges.
So it's great to hear, as always, like for virtually everyone I interview, that there's so much transformation that happens. So where are you now with things? Where do you see how are things going from here?
Well, I think I alluded to before that I'm doing a lot better. I would say that most of the time, the majority of my symptoms are not present. All of the long list that everybody has. Um, the thing that still needs to come is the energy.
Mm.
I can feel that slowly starting to come. Actually, yesterday was this thing that hasn't happened in probably 7 years. I went out of the house twice at two different times. I went out in the morning to do errands, and normally that would be it. And
Right.
then I'd stay home.
Yeah.
And then my niece, I mentioned, was dropping over to my mom's. And I sat there and I go, nope, I'm going to go up there and see my niece. And it felt right. And I felt a surge of energy. And I was almost in tears. It just meant so much to me. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, again, I don't know what's going to happen, ups and downs, but confidence is there. And I think the main thing that I've come to, along with the other things that I mentioned, is I'm now living my life as opposed to waiting for things to be different so I can start living. So that leads to some contentment and hope.
And interestingly, so many people I talk to, and what a lot of the experts are saying is shifting towards living, reduces your symptoms and helps you along the way. I mean, the more joy you
Yes.
bring in, the more happiness.
And it's this
Yeah.
sort of catch 22, right? Like you need to have a be feeling a little better to make those sort of things happen and then
Yeah.
they start to happen. So again, it's that confidence piece. Like yesterday I felt
Yeah.
confident in my decision. And I remember Dan Neuffer talking about that. And I didn't think that would ever happen for me. And it's been 7.5 years. And I'm finally starting to feel that.
This is amazing, Carolyn. I am so happy for you, especially it
Thank
means a
you.
lot that, hearing we've been connected for a while. I know you've been going through this and just to see you here and meet you and just see how far you've come and that you're generously sharing this journey bravely with people. I know it's not an easy thing to do and that you're in such a better place. And I just know people are really going to appreciate hearing from you and hearing your story. I'm sure there's a lot of heads nodding as they're listening to you as you've
Oh,
been sharing this.
I
So
hope
thank you.
so. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I was nervous when we first started, but you made me feel so at ease. So thank you
Oh,
for
I am
that.
glad. I am glad. No, you are a natural. And for people watching and listening, if this is something and you're like, I feel like I need more of this, like I want to hear from more people that are on their journey. I do have a full playlist that I'll link here that you can check out that are people like Carolyn who have made a lot of progress, who have a lot of insights to share. But it's that are still feeling that day to day or navigating that day to day piece, which I know can be really validating and just helpful and make you feel a lot less alone when you're still going through it. So
Hmm.
thank you, Carolyn, for being here. This has been
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing, and it's such an honor and pleasure to finally see your face and get to meet you. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Raylan. Thanks for all that you do.
And thank you to everyone watching and listening. And if you're looking for a little bit more hope and inspiration, I hope to see you in one of these other recovery stories on the playlist. Thanks, everyone. And bye for now.
Bye.